More transfer portal news, interesting coaching search news related to the Gator Bowl on the 27th. And shoot, we're less than 2 weeks away from the Gator Bowl and the chance to win 11 games for the first time in program history. My name is Deuce Prince. Welcome to the 4-3-4 defense and roll the intro. Welcome to the 4-3-4 defense. My name is Deuce Prince. I'm a Charlottesville, Virginia native, lifelong UVA football fan, and former college offensive lineman. And this past Saturday was Christmas for a triple option guy like myself. Army-Navy week, one of the most historic weekends in all of college football, one that I hope is never moved. We're having this whole discussion on calendars, and seemingly we all kind of forgot that the Army-Navy game is an important part of the calendar. Like, we've lost the plot on that. My kooky conspiracy theory, or not conspiracy theory, my kooky whacked out theory is that we could fix a lot of the calendar issues by moving non-playoff bowl games to the spring. I think that Fran Brown and Deion Sanders were genuinely onto something with a spring competition between schools. And I think bowl games just naturally dovetail into that. You know, if you have lived the college football calendar, this will make sense to you to a certain extent, even if you don't agree with moving bowl games to the spring. But for those of you who might not know, so when you finish your season in college football, and you go to a bowl game or whatever, typically that's when your semester ends. If you don't make a bowl, you might have some winter workouts with the strength staff, but overall, you're playing football right up until the end of the fall semester. Then you kick over to spring, and most college football programs will have their winter conditioning program kick off right then and there. Then you do that for about maybe a month and a half. You start getting into February and March, and that's when you get into spring ball. Spring ball is typically, I believe it's 15 practices, 15 padded practices where you're getting new schemes installed, testing out young guys, seeing what your depth chart looks like going into the fall, and at the conclusion of that is your spring game. Now, that spring game is, depending on what school you go to, a big event on campus or not. Sometimes it's just kind of bleh. Like, college football teams in recent past have tried to spice things up, you know, have a fan run a play, have Draymond Green run a rep at tight end if you're Michigan State, or just do any number of random things to try and get people out to support the program. And when you're in spring ball, you've gone through winter workouts, you're kind of just, your face is in the fan. You're practicing with no games in sight. A lot of people seem to forget or not know that for the actual football player, football is a game of practices, or it's a sport of practices with some games occasionally mixed in. And spring ball is a great example of that. You know, you're in full padded practices, going at it. You're like trying to climb the depth chart in many cases, or hold on to your job, or kind of develop yourself into a leader of the team now that the senior class is gone. And at the conclusion, the spring game is usually a ton of fun. It's a great experience. It's a chance to kind of put your skills on display in an actual game environment. And to me, if you wanted to revive the excitement for bowl games and you wanted to add a level of competition to the conclusion of your spring ball, actually going up against another opponent's probably the best way to do it. TV would love it. It would give them spring college football. One thing to know is not every school operates on the same schedule when it comes to the spring semester. So for us at the Citadel, we completed spring ball by spring break. We got our winter workouts done early, and it's a little bit warmer in Charleston, so we could get out and practice a little bit earlier. My brothers at Delaware and Indiana State, they got to push spring ball back a little bit because they need to wait until weather gets a little bit warmer. So sometimes teams don't start spring ball until once they return from spring break, and spring break is your kind of reprieve from winter workouts into spring ball. For us, we'd finish spring break and go into a kind of spring semester conditioning program that's a little bit different from winter workouts. It's its own workout program, and it was kind of its own self-contained thing. The reason I bring that up is I think it does provide some useful staggering in that schedule so that not every team is playing on the same weekend or week for that. You can stagger it like many programs already do, and you can assign those bowl games, and if you don't make a bowl, then you just do a regular spring game. And if you're in Minnesota or Ohio or Kansas, imagine, hey, we get to do our spring game in Boca. We get to do our spring game in Tampa, or even El Paso or LA or any number of these bowl cities. That would be very exciting for the players. It would be good for the staff because they'd get a look against fresh opponents. Now, do you want to necessarily put that film out to the world to see? Not necessarily. A lot of coaches are very guarded about their tape, but at the end of the day, spring games are publicly available. You can just go and see what they do. So it's not like, if Nebraska has a breakout star, you'll see them on highlights in the spring game and the team will promote it. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of security in there either. Most of the stuff that's under lock and key is in those practices. And so that's my pitch for spring bowl games. If we wanted to fix the calendar, if we wanted to get everything done by the time the transfer window opens, by the time the portal opens up, and have everyone kind of finished up by that point, moving a lot of these spring games to the spring, I think would be a really solid idea. Now, the only thing that stinks is that a lot of the seniors wouldn't get a chance to have one last go around in a bowl game. There's a counter to that in that a lot of the seniors who are potentially going into the NFL draft don't play in these bowl games anyway. But at the same time, that's not the average case. The guy that played at a MAC school and is just now becoming a starter as a senior, and this is his shot to be a starter at Western Michigan, and he, goddammit, is going to be very excited for that Bush's Beans Bowl in Boca Raton, or the Poulon Weed Eaters Bowl, or the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. He's going to be excited for that. Who knows if you could finagle something for those guys, because I do feel for those guys. I was that guy. So, you can kind of take it either way. There's no perfect proposal for any of this that keeps everything that we currently like. Because I do think we are in a golden age of college football. I think this is the best time. Could things be improved on? Yes. And that leads me into my second proposal. I was talking about this on Twitter. I think we should have soccer-style transfer fees. This one I've been kicking around in my brain for a long time, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this in the comments. So, as it stands right now, players can transfer from one school to the other basically with free mobility. The old rule where you had to sit out a year, that's really not a thing anymore. And one of the things that I've been mulling over is in terms of the financial health of Group of 5 schools, FCS schools, D2 schools that are developing great talent and often spotting underdeveloped kids. Is there a way that we can reward that while maintaining financial health at all levels of the sport? And my mind just kind of landed on the idea of this transfer fee. It's not something the athlete would pay. It's not something that the student would pay on that level. It would be between the schools. So let's take Cam Ward, for example. Cam Ward started his collegiate career at Incarnate Word in Texas. Under-recruited guy. I believe that was his one college offer. I believe that was it. Goes to Incarnate Word and balls out. Incarnate Word did a great job with him, put him in a position to succeed, and Cam Ward went out and did it. Washington State calls. Hey, we need a quarterback, and you've been tearing it up in the Southland Conference. We think you could be cut out for FBS ball. Now, in our regular timeline, Cam Ward just went from Incarnate Word and transferred to Washington State. I think there's a legit case to say, you know what? Washington State should negotiate a fee with Incarnate Word. Now, I'm not saying this should be something that inhibits player movement, because I think if this just got implemented scattershot, it would lead to all kind of crazy shenanigans. Oh, I don't like that coach. I don't like that school. I don't want to see him go there. Or I don't like this player a whole bunch. I'm going to try and keep him from leaving and just kind of just to spite him. There would have to be some rules around what the schools are allowed to do in terms of that. There might be an arbitrator that determines a fair value, kind of like the NFL does with their draft grades. When they, tell a kid hey, we think you'll be a first rounder, we think you'll be a day 2 pick, we think you'll be a third day pick or undrafted, go back to school. Some kind of arbitrator like that. But, Cam Ward then goes to Washington State and does really well. Miami comes calling, hey, we just had our QB spot open up. Cam, you've exceeded all expectations at the FCS level, now the Group of 5 level. We think you're ready for Power 5 big-time ball. Granted, Washington State did a great job with Cam Ward. If they didn't, Cam wouldn't be in that position. It's not totally all on the athlete and it's not all on the school. It's a mix of both. And so Cam Ward has more opportunities at the University of Miami to make more money in terms of NIL. I do think to a certain extent Washington State should be rewarded for that development as well. There should be an amount that goes from Miami to Washington State, kind of like in soccer. The example I came up with was Brighton and Hove Albion. If you don't watch a lot of soccer, Brighton and Hove Albion are a fantastic club at developing great soccer players. And they've created a whole economic model off of developing players, getting them to the point where they are very good, and then Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, all these big clubs come calling and go to get their future stars at Brighton and Hove Albion, and then they end up having to pay a significant amount to Brighton to get that player. And Brighton makes a tidy profit off of this because the players are often coming in to their academy system where they're paying a very small transfer fee from a smaller club, buying low on a player and then selling high. That's a sustainable financial model for Brighton and Hove Albion in the EPL, at least for right now. There's no reason why Washington State shouldn't be able to do the same thing. There's no reason that Incarnate Word shouldn't be able to do the same thing. If you are producing players and developing them from being an under-recruited one-star, no-star kid to the point where the FBS or the Power 5 or the Power 2 is calling and they want that player, that's a testament to the job that that program has done. And I think they should be compensated duly. Do I know how every mechanic in that should be implemented? No. There are good reasons against doing this. Like I said, there are room for plenty of petty shenanigans, that can get deeply interpersonal, deeply really scandalous, and it would create a lot of problems that would then have to be solved. But, this whole question throughout the past year or so has been, what are we going to do with the Group of 5? What are we going to do with the teams that might get left out if the Big Ten and SEC took their ball and went home? If they said, you know what, we're coalescing into our own higher division of Division 1 and we're going to pick and choose a couple schools to come with us and the rest of you guys, good luck in the Group of 5. I think this is the only way to A, still keep it on somewhat of a level playing field, because financially, the smaller teams and smaller universities would have an incentive to continue to develop these players because it would return funds to them. It would return funds to their athletic department. We wouldn't necessarily see the same impact on Olympic sports and potentially non-revenue sports. Like, there's a case where this actually turns into a really positive thing. Now, does it further stratify things? I think there's a case to be made there. I think there are a lot of people over in England that aren't happy with the current state of affairs, because you might be a Brighton fan and you're upset that you haven't been able to keep any of the players you're developing. You haven't been able to see any of them through their prime into their old age where they can be a one club man and retire at Brighton. Same thing with a club like Bournemouth or any of these other smaller clubs. That situation's not perfect, and there's no telling if Brighton could eventually become one of those bigger clubs. Brighton's not in London. Washington State's not in LA or New York. They don't have that big market. Like, Georgia, Ohio State, they're in big metro areas. Like, there's a reason why they are the way they are right now, and this could totally further stratify things, but is it more stratified than it would be if we were just going off the current rate of right now, just athletic budgets and TV ratings? So I think it's an interesting thought experiment at the very least to walk through and just kind of see where that would lead us, because I do think it would be interesting. I played in the FCS. My whole family played 1AA FCS football. We've seen plenty of guys that were under-recruited and could have very well gone on and made a bag. And you know what? A lot of those guys got better because of the FCS programs that they were in. And so I think that it would be a decent solution to make it a handshake rather than just one player leaving. And I think it would eliminate a lot of the hard feelings that come about when some of these players transfer and leave. If you've made it this far, it's clear that you love UVA football and appreciate what we do here at the 4-3-4 defense. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to everyone who has liked, shared, subscribed, even just watched. Thank you so much. We're closing in on 100 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. I'd love to hit that before we enter 2026 and spring ball. So yeah, thank you so much. We're going to get right back to the video, but I just wanted to say thank you and go Hoos. Since our last couple of episodes, the coaching world has calmed down a little bit. Obviously, the situation in Michigan is still very fluid. We still don't know who's going to take that job. Biff Poggi, the tattered sweatshirt OG from Baltimore, hedge fund genius, he's running the show at Michigan right now, just kind of keeping things together. I don't think most people expect him to be the head coach when all the dust settles. At one point we heard that Kalen DeBoer was going to take the job, or that Kenny Dillingham was going to take the job. And I bring this up because an interesting name has come up in pertinence to Hoo-Val on December 27th. Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz has been named in quite a few of these hot boards. And these hot boards can sometimes be just absolutely wrong. And the next hire is going to come out of left field. But this is the SEC. We are living in the world of Jimmy Sexton. Who is Eli Drinkowitz's agent? Hang on. We're doing on the fly research, folks. Clint Dowdle at WME Sports. So he's not a Jimmy Sexton client, but we are living in the world of Jimmy Sexton right now. So you never know what might happen with this whole thing. Do I expect Eli to be at the Gator Bowl? Yes. I think that he's got a great situation in a power conference. Michigan is a great job, though. It's like a top 5 job to most people. I would probably put it in the top 3 in just terms of the resources and the firepower that you have at Michigan. And the fact that a job like this came open at this time is so weird because the candidate pool is so skewed. I think there's a great shot at someone in the NFL getting this job because of the way the calendar's set up. The kind of dust had settled once Matt Campbell went over to State College to be the next head coach at Penn State. And so all of a sudden, a job that I considered to be on par with LSU opens up. And we were like, oh my God, Penn State's been open, LSU's been open, Florida's been open. Like, is there anything bigger? And Michigan's the only thing, really. It'd be like Michigan or Notre Dame or Alabama all of a sudden coming open, which, shoot, it couldn't very well, depending on what happens on Saturday. And yeah, what a chaotic period we're dealing with right now with Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz potentially going to Michigan and Missouri offensive coordinator Kirby Moore, Boise State grad, yes, he is Kellen's brother, getting hired at Washington State. And talking about Washington State a lot this year, from the time that we played them to the whole Cam Ward thing to now Kirby Moore going to Washington State. Yeah, it's a Wazoo world. We're just all living in it, I guess. So Washington State gets Kirby Moore. Washington State's had a couple of heaters at head coach. Obviously, Jimmy Rogers did an excellent job after coming over from South Dakota State. Jimmy Rogers and the South Dakota State Jackrabbits are like a bad word in our family group chat because multiple Prince family seasons have ended at the hands of the Jackrabbits. I'm like the only one that hasn't, and that's because we did make the FCS playoffs while I was at the Citadel. We probably would have lost to South Dakota State. So obviously he goes on to take the Iowa State job in the aftermath of Matt Campbell going over to Penn State. That was a really good hire, gets him back in that general kind of upper Midwest area, not necessarily the Dakotas, but if you think Matt Campbell's not going to be able to go right, or Jimmy Rogers isn't going to be able to go right back on that same recruiting beat and get the same ass kickers that he got at South Dakota State, yeah, and even more so. Yeah, Kirby Moore takes over at Washington State. They had a good year, all things considered. They had the cards stacked against them. Really, really interesting situation there. It remains to be seen what Missouri's offense will look like in the Gator Bowl now that Kirby Moore is gone. We also are waiting to kind of see what we have with Bo Pribula coming up against us. When Bo is at 100%, he is a great, great quarterback. Does an outstanding job on the move, in the pocket, can do a little bit of everything. Ahmad Hardy, their running back, I love watching him. I am not excited to play this dude. Very, very good running back. He reminds me a lot of Jamari Taylor in terms of his physicality and how quickly he can get north-south. And in terms of sheer production, Ahmad Hardy has been the reason that Mizzou has gone 8-4, with Pribula being down and hurt and kind of less effective than he was. We've had a couple more transfer portal openings at UVA since our last episode. So last episode, Jason Prevard and Tyshawn Wyatt had already declared that they would be entering the portal in the past couple of days. Mekhi Buchanan and Dre Walker have announced they will be entering the portal. So that makes it 4 total portal departures for the Virginia Cavaliers. It's Jason Prevard is the one that definitely does not bode well. Like, Jason, I thought, would have been an outstanding Cavalier to have throughout his entire time at eligibility. He would have been great to have. Buchanan, Walker, and Wyatt have all been good contributors for the Cavaliers. A couple people in the Virginia space have said that they want to make some room on the roster for portal additions. Who knows whether that's a part of the conversation, like, hey, hit the portal, we've got other guys coming in, we want you to see the field, or some people seeing the writing on the walls, or other people just not being happy with their current playing time and situation. I think in that group before, there's a list of all of it. Jason Prevard is going to go get a massive bag wherever he ends up, though. Like, that dude is going to get paid. And I think he's going to get paid for quite a while because he is just an outstanding football player. Let's look over at Mizzou's transfer portal departures. So they've had 5. One of their bigger ones was wide receiver Josh Manning. Manning was definitely a big contributor for them. Then Marquise Davis, running back, Brendan Haygood, running back, James Madison the second, running back or wide receiver, and then Caleb Flagg, a safety. So they've seen some portal departures on the perimeter. Obviously, a lot of wide receivers mentioned there, and some running backs and a safety. There have been some guys on this team that have also run into some issues. I'm not going to touch a whole lot on that. That information's out there, but we're not TMZ. So we're going to just say that some guys on Mizzou are also potentially not going to be playing on December 27th. And I want to give them grace and the whole process the ability to just work itself out. So going forward, we've got a very, very exciting Gator Bowl coming up. Wanted to highlight to you guys where we are going to be. We are going to be in section 255, I believe, 255, 225. Let me just double check this. Yes, we are going to be in section 225. So if you're looking at Everbank Stadium, you've got kind of the UVA sideline, the Missouri sideline, then you've got the Jumbotron end zone and the swimming pool end zone, as I've called it. You've got the big Jumbotron on this end, and then you've got the famous swimming pool on that one. We are underneath where that swimming pool is, essentially. We're in that second level. We're on the UVA side, though. It'll be a great end zone view. If you guys are at the Gator Bowl this upcoming couple Saturdays from now, don't be afraid. Just come and say hi. I am going to have my 4-3-4 defense stickers, just like the Commonwealth Cup game, and I will be more than happy to give those to you guys for coming out, finding us, and giving you a nice way to represent for the 4-3-4. It's going to be super exciting. We got a chance to get number 11. Number 11, that has been the mantra from leadership on the team, from Tony Elliott, from guys like Antonio Clary, if you watch the most recent Corner Media episode. Also, Donovan Platt, he's got a future in broadcasting, I think. Broadcasting or media in some kind. They rolled him out, and I didn't know if it was going to be a rotating cast of people interviewing others. The first one came out, and Donovan Platt was on there, and I was like, okay. And then he kept on showing up, and his presence as an interviewer got so much better week over week. It's been very funny to watch because some of the players are very much still in their first long form video like this, and they're kind of umming and uhing, and granted I and a little bit and like, but Platt's done an awesome job on that. Corner Media's got some great things going. It's awesome that they've got a regular series now with Matt Shaw breaking down plays, Donovan Platt doing things. That is going to be a great thing for the University of Virginia, and hopefully going to see some of those guys at the Gator Bowl, hoping to see all the good UVA content folks like Ball Hawk. I don't know if the Cardiac Hoos are going to be in Jacksonville for the game, but if they are, looking forward to seeing them. A couple guys from Streaking the Lawn. All these guys are doing awesome stuff, and I should not be your sole UVA football content source. I love that you come and pay attention to my ramblings on Virginia football, but there are so many other people attacking this from so many other angles and that are doing a great job. So, yeah, love all those guys. Can't wait to see them in Jacksonville for the game. I'm going with my girlfriend and her parents. We're super excited, throwing a little pregame tailgate, getting excited for it, hoping to see all the Mizzou fans out there, meet some of y'all. I'm deprogramming myself from having lived in Manhattan, Kansas, where Missouri was one of the people that were the enemy. After my dad coached at Virginia, coached at Kansas State, and Missouri was one of those teams that we were just man, we don't like these people. And sure enough, having interacted with a lot of the Mizzou Tiger folks, y'all are wonderful. Y'all are doing a great job. There are a bunch of good Mizzou content people out there that are doing a great job that have helped school me up on this team. And that's the great part about bowl games. I didn't know a lick about Missouri other than they had Bo Prabula and that they were really hot early in the year, and then Bo got hurt, and then things kind of went the way they did. I didn't pay attention to them after that. Turns out they got a great football team. They got a great football team. That Ahmad Hardy is legit. He's going to be a great player for Mizzou, and I expect to see him on Sundays at some point. So, yeah, super exciting stuff. And the one thing I want to leave off on is there is going to be some chaos in this portal. We're going to work our way back to the portal. It is going to be very, very interesting to see what we do based on the fact that we are kind of waiting to see what happens at the quarterback position. Just like any football team, we go as the quarterback does. If we are able to get Chandler Morris back for another year, that would be exceptional. It'd be a position of very high value that we would have to spend a lot of money acquiring a replacement for, or retaining a potential replacement, that if Chandler is able to come back, or we see what we need to see from Daniel Kalen, we will be able to invest in other parts of the roster. We've got plenty of really strong leaders and great football players departing because they've literally run out of eligibility. We'll see some dudes depart in the portal. It will happen. It's just the nature of the beast right now. The teams that went undefeated are going to see guys leaving the portal, key contributors leaving the portal. Like, it's just going to happen. And so keep an eye on the quarterback market, see what's going on there. You know, obviously DJ Lagway has announced he's departing from Florida. Brennan Sorsby is leaving Cincinnati. He's going to go see what the NFL draft thinks of him. You know, Sam Levitt is almost a guarantee to be gone from Arizona State. And there are a whole bunch of other quarterbacks going down the list. Keep an eye on it, but don't let it occupy your whole thoughts. Let's wait and hear what happens with Chandler. We cannot make any definitive judgment on what this team is going to be next year until we know what the quarterback position is going to be. Because, man, as the quarterback goes, the team goes. So, yeah, don't let it take up all your mental real estate. I've talked to some UVA fans who are feeling a little bit worried about what's going to happen should Chandler not get another year. I would just say, I think this coaching staff has earned a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of rope to figure out a new plan. You know, we didn't know Chandler Morris was going to be this going into this year. So I would just say give him some grace. If we end up having to go find another solution at quarterback, whether it's Kalen, whether it's someone else, who knows? Shoot, it could be Dylan Raiola for all I know. I really hope that's actually not the case. I like Coach Heff, and I don't want to see us have to fire a really good offensive line coach to get a transfer portal quarterback who I think Dylan has 2 years of eligibility left. Yeah, no. Coach Heff's done a great job with that offensive line group. Very excited about what this group is going to be next year because we've got some real leaders on that offensive line that are departing, and I'm very excited about the guys we have coming in from high school. You know, the Virginia high school class wasn't necessarily praised as, oh my God, this is the greatest high school class since whatever, like this isn't like whatever, but has Virginia ever been that? B, these stars don't grade scheme fit. And, like, I don't want to be like, oh, man, stars are meaningless. But stars kind of are meaningless. Like, these coaches have gone out and recruited these specific kids to play UVA football. To play the scheme, to play the brand, to play the mentality that we have at Virginia. It might not work elsewhere. It probably won't work elsewhere. You know, one of the reasons we have the portal is a lot of guys realize, man, I am not the player for this scheme, or a lot of teams realize this is not the player that we really needed for this scheme. We need to go out and bring in someone else that can do it. You know, DeBrickashaw, I'm pretty sure UVA was one of his first offers. You know, I think we had to compete with a couple of people for Matt Schaub. We had to compete with some people for Biscuit. Wally we had to compete with some people with, but it's not like everyone was like, oh my God, Virginia has the greatest recruiting class in the history of college football. We might as well pack it in and roll out the carpet for the dominant Virginia Cavalier recruiting class. We've never been that. We're starting to be known a little bit for our portal production, but granted, we also did it off of mainly a quarterback who everyone thought was kind of on the way out of college football, and a running back most people had not heard of from NC Central. Like, we didn't do it by picking up Dante Moore or by picking up Bo Pribula. We did it by finding guys that fit our scheme, that fit what we do. So if you are worried about the future because of the recruiting rankings, I'm glad to be the one to tell you we cannot grade it off of that. You know what? The freshmen that are early enrollees, let's watch them in spring ball. Let's see what we got. You really don't know with a lot of positions until sophomore year, especially in the trenches. Offensive line, you have really no idea what you got with a kid until spring ball after the sophomore season. So yeah, like, don't let it occupy your mental space. Be excited, be present, be where your feet are at. We have a chance to set a program record with 11 wins. And from my interactions with our incoming class, it seems like we have got a bunch of really high character kids that want to play football at the University of Virginia. And that is the non-negotiables, because you have to have kids that are willing to put in the academic effort. You have to have high character kids to make football work at Virginia, because we can't be walking around here with a bunch of crazy people. We're too good at other sports for football to be seen as all these crazy people running amok around Charlottesville causing chaos. And also, the way Tony Elliott has built this program is on these high character guys. So, like, if all we have to work on with some dudes is the football part of it, like, or the strength and conditioning part of it, like, if we just got to get these kids stronger, get them faster, if they've got it between the ears, you've got a fighting chance at the University of Virginia. We got to play smart football. We got to play tough mental football. Like, we're not just going to be able to roll out 4.3 speed and just be like, you know what, we can out-athlete everyone else. That's just not the cards we're dealt at the University of Virginia. We got to have some dudes with some, like, 1,600 SATs who are a little bit on the nerdy side, and you have to be able to have those guys that can flip a switch once they strap that helmet on, while also keeping that intelligence. So yeah, like, that is my, like, biggest thing. If you're watching the offseason, you're like, oh my God, they graded us 14th in the recruiting class in the ACC. Well, guess what? They picked us to finish 14th in the actual football season this year. And look at where we ended up. This don't mean jack until we strap it up. So yeah, be where your feet are at. Be excited. Be present. We got a great game coming up here in 12 days now. Good Lord. We're going to have a bunch of awesome content coming out here on the 434 defense with some more stuff, more collaborations, more people on here, hoping to get the Cardiac Who's on here, hoping to get a bunch of other awesome people on here for some more episodes. We'll see what happens down the line with other collaborations. I'm hoping to get maybe some of the outgoing guys. So, yeah, man, super excited. See you in Jacksonville, or Hoo-Val, as we should be calling it, because we are going to paint Everbank Stadium orange and blue. So, yeah, have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of you guys liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, following us on social platforms, watching our content there, interacting with it. Means the world to me. We're going to continue to grow. We're getting close to 100 subscribers. That's going to be awesome. I can't believe in just one football season we've gone from basically nothing to 100 subscribers. So yeah, to each and every one of you that has subscribed, followed, liked, shared, watched, thank you so much. Have a great night, and go Hoos.